Hello and welcome to the Songwriter Sessions with Shalabh. Songwriting is such a beautiful art. It's also a craft that can be developed over a period of time with the right mentoring, the right coaching, a lot of hard work and perseverance. My name is Shalabh and I'm a singer-songwriter, musician, composer. A lot of people come up to me to ask me about my songwriting process, and I thought I should develop a few videos to explain this concept of songwriting to you. I'm not a music teacher or a virtuoso, but hopefully I can share some of my experience and help you to write good songs and lots of songs. This is not going to be my songwriting process specifically, but I think a songwriting process that can help you get started in the art and craft of songwriting, and then you can take it up from there onwards. The good news is that you don't need to be a music virtuoso yourself for becoming a good songwriter. As we move along in the videos, I will try to explain each and every nuance of songwriting in a more detailed way, but this video specifically is going to just help you get started into the songwriting process, wrap your head around it, and just after this video, if you watch through the entire video, I can tell you can actually already start making songs. So what do you need as a songwriter? Ideally, if you want to take up songwriting a little bit seriously, you have to have a little basic knowledge of music theory. You don't need to be a virtuoso. You don't need to be knowing a lot of stuff around music, but basic music theory, if you're well versed in that, you're going to have a very good time. So spend your time in learning a little bit about music theory. I'm going to be talking more about music theory in the upcoming sessions. So keep tuned. The other thing that you need to know is ideally you should be knowing an instrument. A melodic percussive instrument like a guitar is great. If you play the piano, that's great. Ukulele, that's great. All of these instruments, harmonium, all of these instruments where you can actually harmonize, you can create harmonies, you can create chords, you can play more than one note at one point of time. Basic knowledge of it would be quite helpful. So just with the basic knowledge, you can do a lot of stuff. Apart from that, you need to have a good heart, and that's about it. You need to be able to take on from your experiences and be able to express them in a song. And some of that is something that I'm going to talk about, how to do that exactly. And over a period of time, you're going to develop that inherently within you. So let's get started. The first thing, I think, the first question that people would ask to a songwriter is, what comes first? Is it the music or is it the lyrics? And when they say music, they usually mean the melody, the melodic part of it. So that's actually right. That's a fair question. But when you actually compose music inherently has largely, about broadly speaking, four big modules or four big sections. Lyrics is definitely one of them, one of the really important parts, especially if you're a singer-songwriter. A lot of your music would depend upon expressiveness, how expressive you are. And so that expressiveness can come out in the form of lyrics. So lyrics are definitely important. Melody, that's the second pillar. It's also quite important. But melody and lyrics are both bound together with two other important pillars. One of them is harmony, which is basically how do different notes work with each other. It can be in the form of a chord, it can be in the form of chord progression. That's the harmony. And the fourth part is the rhythmic aspect of it, the rhythm. So four core parts: melody, lyrics, harmony, and rhythm. And all of those four are actually bound together with some kind of structure, because if you're making a song, you need to have some structure. So we are going to be talking all about all of these things and how to, probably just improvise a song right here. It's not going to be great. It's not going to be something to talk about in the town, but hopefully it's going to be something that can drive the idea across. Now, where do you begin with? You begin with what I call is a songwriting trigger. And a songwriting trigger can be anything. It can be a melodic idea. So maybe you're walking down the street and you're humming a tune comes to your head, and then you're just humming it. And then you realize that that's something that's quite catchy. That's something that can be used in song making. And that itself is a trigger. You're walking on the street and you actually have some words in your mind that actually express something that you just saw or that you just felt. It need not be accidental, by the way. The trigger can be anything. You might be thinking about somebody, you might have a concept in your mind, so on and so forth. It could even come as a harmonic trigger, a kind of chord progression that you liked or a chord voicing that you liked, and you've kept that as a core idea towards building up your song. And that becomes the strong part of the song. That becomes the core concept of the song based upon which the song is made. Or it could be a rhythmic component. You like a certain rhythm which has music in its own self, and you want to create music on top of that. So it can be any concept that comes into your mind. Let's say environment protection. Let's say it's about lost love. Let's say it's about your dog. That's a concept that has come to your mind. And using that concept, you can start creating music. So the first thing is to have a trigger. When you're the core thing is how to capture that trigger. And if it's an accidental trigger, or if it's a concept that's there in your mind which has come in the form of some kind of trigger, some kind of expression, first thing that you need to do is you need to record it somewhere. So you can record it on a piece of paper, you can record it on your phone. And that's actually the most popular go-to recording device for musicians. I hear Charlie Puth launched an album recently called Voice Notes, and it's called Voice Notes, and it's for a reason, because he wrote a lot of songs while sitting in his hotel room. When an idea came to his mind, he actually recorded it on his mobile device. And I do the same, by the way. I've got so many of these triggers coming to me when I'm walking down the street, or taking the train, or waiting for the bus, or all of those things. If you don't record it, you're going to forget it. I can guarantee you that. So recording of an idea is a core thing. And once you record it, you basically come home and you start threshing down a concept. If it's out of the four things that we talked about, which is melody, rhythm, lyrics, and harmony, there's no one way or the other of what comes first. Anything can come first. And then your job as a songwriter is to take on the other pillars and then to weave it into a way that it turns up into a song that other people can listen to. Now, the moment that core concept, that idea comes to you, a good thing would be to not only record it, but also to sit down and think about, can it be the core, the crux of the song? What is the crux of the song? If you're making a movie or if you're writing a story, that would be the equivalent of a plot. What is the plot? What is it that you're going to talk about? What is that whole 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes, 4 minutes song going to be about? What is the core idea? Is the core idea about lost love? Is the core idea about how much you love your dog? What's the core idea? And that core idea is quite important to freeze upon, because that can also define what kind of lyrics will go in. That will also define what's the kind of structure you're going to keep in the song. And I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. So let's say you have a core concept. You have a concept about, let's say, love, the most popular topic of songwriters. It's easy to understand. You've heard millions of songs about love. Let's just take the topic about love. First thing that you can do, and again, there's no set way what comes first, second, or third. I'm just giving you an idea. Pick up your instrument and look at the harmonic aspect. So if you don't have a melodic line in mind, you just have a concept in mind about love. You're talking about your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife, whatever it is. And you're talking about love in that context. And then what you do is you pick up the instrument and work around whatever chords you know. Usually, musicians have a kind of a way to do this. For example, every mood has a different structure to it. Lots of times musicians work around modes or scalar interpretation of major or minor scales, or work around different modes, which are nothing but a variation of a scale in a way that evokes a certain mood. And that's very helpful because, once they've gone through that academic process of learning music, they then start understanding that there are different types of patterns that can evoke a certain response in an individual, But for you, it's fine. You can actually create good songs out of very limited knowledge. So there are different kinds of music, by the way, who have different ways of doing stuff, and that's why it's more of an art than a science. So if you go to Spain, for example, they have this Spanish ways, they have Spanish modes, they have Spanish scales, they have Spanish structures. In South America, it's quite different. It's more driven by the very, very distinct rhythmic component. In India, there's a whole rich tradition of rags, and the rag has a way to define a certain emotion. So, but all of those are meant for quite advanced level. If you're starting off, I would advise you to just start off with, let's say, an instrument like a guitar or even a keyboard or piano, whatever, and you have just basic knowledge of triads. Okay, you just know triads, which is the 3-note chords, and you just know how to strum them. You're just beginning to write, you're just beginning to start with the instrument, and it's always an easy part to go with. So just pick up your instrument. Don't worry about what key you're in and all those kind of things. We will talk about those things in later sessions. Right now, just work around the chords that you know of. I would advise you to start off with the basic chords, which is everyone knows how to hold specifically on a guitar. So let's say D, A, G. You can also do E, A, D. Very simple to hold. Just 3 strings. There's 3 notes that you have to hold down, and then you can already be creating a song. You can actually be creating a song if you just know 1 chord, by the way. And if you know 2 or 3 chords, fantastic. You're in it. You're in it for the money. So you can do a lot of stuff. It's not just you or me, as a beginner musician, that you're only creating a song on 2 or 3 chords. A lot of pop music, a lot of popular music has been done on basically 2 or 3 chords. So you've got a concept in mind that you're going to write about your love, and about 3 chords, and you come back home, you pick up your instrument, and you start working around just playing those 3 chords that you know. You can do on 2 chords, and that's fine. And you just play this. No particular pattern. You just start D, A, G. Okay? A good way to do this would actually be to record this, free up your hands, and play it as a loop back. So if you have a looper pedal by any chance, that would help. Just record these 3 chords. Or there are many apps nowadays, and just search for looper and you'll get some free and some paid ones. It's worthwhile getting a looper anyways if you're a musician. What it does is it basically frees up your hands, and you can concentrate more, at least in the beginning, about what is the treatment that you're going to give to the song. So now that's the chord, that's the harmony. So the harmony, we started off with the harmony, we started off with the concept, we are moving on to the harmony. Harmony is nothing but chords and the way the chords move. So the chord progression is actually harmony, and you need not play in any particular rhythmic pattern. So all you're doing is you're creating some kind of a pattern in your head, and it's just moving along. And let's just create something, and I'll do it just right here. I haven't thought of anything. Okay. Do-do-do, 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 do-do-do. As you're doing it, you realize you're actually moving in from the harmonic domain to the melodic domain. That's the second pillar. You're continuously playing the same 3 chords on loop, and then you're thinking of a melody, and the melody can come to your head. It can come to your head. If you're just following the chord patterns, it'll come to your head. But I'll also give you a trick. I'll give you a trick, and the trick is whatever chord you're holding, you can strike the root note of that chord. And the root note is nothing but actually the note that the chord's name is. So if it's a D chord you're holding, then the root note is D. You can take that. Move on to A. G. And then ended up with going back to the chord that you started off. Okay, so what it helps you to do is it helps you to zero down to the core note of the chord, and then just take it up from there. And that's what melody is. So melody is also a few notes. You're not just going to stay on the you're not just going to stay there. You're going to think about how can you use that one note as a guide to create a kind of a pattern that moves in pitches. So try to create more movements. You can say that's also fine. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. Same 3 chords. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. Yeah. Actually, the more I'm doing it, the more I think this, I've heard this somewhere, but that's fine. So now you've got a chord structure. You're doing D, A, G, that's the movement. And you can pick and choose minor chords if you know. Minor chords are great because if it's a combination of a major and minor chord, there usually will be some good movements. We are going to talk about it later. But if you can use minor chords, absolutely fine. If you want to use all major chords, absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong or right. Start off with the ones that I'm kind of showing you. It's D, A, G. You can also use D, A, E. The one is in the key of D, other one is in the key of A, but you don't have to worry about that right now. Once you've done that, then you can actually attack on the rhythm part. A lot of this, mind you, can come simultaneously as you're developing it. It's not a linear process, 1, 2, 3, 4. After you do one, then you do the next. But a lot of times you can actually get all of these ideas at once while you're playing it. But now that you've done your chord structure, which is the chord movements, and you've developed a kind of a basic melodic line, the next stage is to think about what's the kind of rhythm pattern that you're going to give it. Usually, most of the pop songs are basically in the 4/4 time signature. So rhythm is any kinds of beats, the pulse of the song, the tempo of the song, the time signature. All of these can broadly be classified under the rhythm section. But you know what rhythm is? It's the pulse of the song. It's the thing that makes you groove. It's the thing that makes you keep time. It's the thing that makes you sway. It's the ones that makes you bob your head. So for your song, okay, that's okay. That's something that we can work with. So we've got rhythm laid out, and that's the thing that we can work with. You can play around with those rhythmic structure. You can find out which one is sounding best to you. You can also lay down a metronome, and that's quite important because if you have that beat in your mind, it can help you as well. So you can download a metronome app on your mobile phone. If you already have a metronome hardware at home, you can use that as well. But all it will give you is it'll give you time. So you see how it can actually lead you to do some kind of variations in the same melody. So that's also fun. So you've now defined the rhythmic pattern as well. Now that we've got all of that done, we now need to think of lyrics. And for writing lyrics, you need to understand that it's your expression, what you want to express. You need to emotionally connect with people. So it has to be something that people can relate to, that you want to give, you want to show to the people. And so, you have to have that emotional connect. I told you about, giving a title to a song. If you can give the title to a song, you're already focused on to what is the whole song going to be about. And once you do that, then you need to develop a structure. So once you've developed a structure, it becomes so much more easier to write lyrics. So let's say you're talking about your love. You can start off with, let's say you've got a simple structure. You've got a verse 1, verse 2, and verse 3. And verse 1 can be about some person, and the verse 2 can be about both of you, and the verse 3 can be about yourself, or in any different order. So you're starting off with storytelling about some other person, how you met them, where you saw them. Then the second verse comes about maybe both of you, or maybe just about you, your interpretation, your side of the story about what you do. There's some new person who has come to town, and what you liked about them. The second part is how you were before meeting them and what has changed after you met them. And the third part could be, how do you see both of you together? You've got the best of both parts, you've got the best of both worlds, and now you're together, and so on and so forth. So that's a structure already. It's got verse 1, verse 2, verse 3. Usually in popular music, because if you just have the same verses usually tend to be the storytelling part, and they will obviously have very similar melody, if not exactly the same. So they're pretty much same. So because they can be very same, it can be quite monotonous to actually only sing in verses. So what musicians do is that they intersperse the verses with choruses. So you've got a verse and there's some chorus, and the chorus can be something about why is it happening. It's the most catchy part in a song. It's the thing that people are going to remember the song for. It's the most catchy part of a song. So if you remember, I'm in love with the shape of you, you push and pull like a magnet do. That's a song that repeats. That's a part that repeats over and over again and again in the song, and that's the part that a lot of people remember. That's the part that most of the people can sing along with. So that's the chorus, and that's an important part in a song as well. So you can think about verse, you can think about chorus, and then you can think about verse 3. And that's what really is. Most of the songs are based upon this pattern. Some songs have something else in between. So some musicians can keep other parts in between, which they call the bridge or the pre-chorus, the pre-bridge. All of these things can come into play. From a singer-songwriter perspective, the world is your oyster. You can do anything that you want. Start off with a simple progression, a simple structure. Start off with verse, chorus, verse, chorus. Usually verses can be 4 to 6 lines long. If they are really long lines, then you can use 4 to 6 lines. That's a good gauge of somebody's attention. People have that attention span, and if it drags too much, then people tend to lose attention. So what you need to do is ideally keep verses around 4 to 6 lines, or if they are short lines, maybe you can keep 6 to 10 lines. Choruses are usually shorter, so maybe about 3 to 6 long lines, or 5 to 8 short lines. Other important part of lyric writing is rhyming. So let's just think about something here. It'll not be polished, but let's just think about, when I saw you there, when I saw you there, when I saw you there, it turned my world upside down. When I saw you there, it turned my world upside down. And I can't imagine what will I do if you were not around. When I saw you then and then the world upside down. So there's some kind of rhyming in here. Again, it's not necessary to rhyme. A lot of songwriters don't rhyme, but if you rhyme, then it has a sense of resolution in the listener. And because the listeners are quite accustomed, quite used to hearing, there has to be some kind of rhyme. So if the words are rhyming, it's great. And especially from a beginner songwriting perspective, it's always good to rhyme. It's just like resolution. Resolution means that something is getting resolved. You get a feeling of something coming to completion, and that's what it is. That's what the chords, when I said you have to start with D and end with D, that's what it is doing. Da 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 da. It's resolving. It's ending there, and it's not necessary that every line has to rhyme. Think of yourself, you can have the first line and the third line rhyming, the second line and the fourth line rhyming. You can use first and the second line to rhyme, that's fine. But here it is, this is our song, and we can think about chorus. When I look at you and I'm the darling, and the chorus can be, I'm looking forward to you every time I see you, looking forward to you. I'm looking forward to meet you everywhere I go. I can't live without you. And yeah, I think so. I can't live without you. Yeah, and I think so. Da 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 da. I think so. You can actually increase the tempo the beats a little bit in the chorus so it becomes more catchy, more punchy. Then you come back to the verse. So that's it. Those are the components of songwriting. You have actually created a song. It's a little bit patchy, but we're going to develop this further. All you can do is with this song, you can develop verse 1, you can develop chorus. On the same tune, you can write lyrics on verse 2 and then chorus again, the same chorus back again. And you've created a song. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on the bell icon. I'm going to be back with more deeper topics after this session on how to create lyrics, how to create great lyrics line, how to create great melodic lines, how to write a good rhyming structure, so on and so forth. Till then, bye bye and thank you.